Welcome to Python online classes. Now we are in Unit 4 Session 2. The agenda of this class is the types of arguments and scope of variables. This class mainly explain about types of arguments, and four types are available in the types of argument. Those are required arguments, keyword arguments, default arguments, and variable length arguments. And scope of variable, so variable can be divided into two scopes. One is global variable and local variable. Now we'll see what is the difference between the global and local variable and modifying a local variable as a global variable. So let's move to the next slide. So first we will see types of arguments. The first one is required argument. In the required argument, the arguments are passed to a function in correct positional order. So whatever we are arguments passing to a function, they should be in the correct order. That means number of arguments in the function call should exactly match with the number of parameters specified in the definition. So as I said in previous class, the number of parameters should be equivalent to the number of arguments whenever we are calling to the function. So that we can call it as a required argument. So here you have three examples, and observe those three examples. First example, I have a display and a print hello. So whenever I am display, it's a zero parameter function. I am calling this function with one argument with hi, then it's giving an error called type error. And in the second example, I have a display with one parameter with x, and I am saying print x, but I am calling this function with zero arguments. Then again it's giving a type error. And next, third example, we have a definition display x and print x. I am calling this function with one argument as a hello, so that the arguments and parameters, the number is equal, and that's where it's not giving any kind of error, and I am getting output as a hello. This is what we can call it as a required arguments. Now we'll go to the next slide. Keyword arguments. So Python allows function to be called using keyword arguments. So Python allows the function can be called using keyword arguments. When we call functions in this way, the order of the arguments can be changed. In previous example, required argument, the order should be in the same order, then only the function will get executed. But here order can be changed in the keyword argument. So how it can be changed? Let's see. Definition, display, name, x and y. These are the three parameters I have. I am printing the name of the person is name, the x value is x, y value is y. The order of these parameters, name is first, x is second, and y is third. But here, whenever I am calling this function, I am taking y is equal to 20 as a first argument, and name is equal to Ramesh as a second argument, and x is equal to 40 as a third argument. That means order of these parameters and arguments may get changed. So that kind of arguments we can call it as a keyword arguments. So here the variable name, the keyword, and the value will be defined while calling the function. So this is, we can call it as a keyword argument. We will see in detail in the example in the Python IDE. And next we will move to the default argument. So default argument is an argument that assumes a default value which defined in the called function if a value is not provided in the function call for that argument. So whenever I am calling the function, if I don't provide any value for that respective parameter, it will take a default value of this parameter while creating a function. For example, here I have a definition display, name, and course as BA, and I am printing statement, the name of the person is name, course is course. So here I have two parameters. While accessing this function display Rajesh MBA, I am giving two values, that is two arguments. The Rajesh will be substituted with the name and MBA will be substituted with the course. So I will get output as a Rajesh and a MBA. And when I am calling this function, course is equal to MSc and name is equal to Raju, and both are keyword, and this course will be substituted with the course called BTech. That means course will become MSc now and name will become Raju. So here output will be Raju and MSc. And but here display name is equal to Ravi. So I am given only name as a Ravi, but I haven't provided any kind of course here while calling this function as an argument. So whenever I am not providing any course here, it will take course as a default value as a btake. Now I will get output as name as a Ravi and the course as a btake. So this is, we can call it as a default argument. Default argument. So I haven't provided any kind of argument here, but it will take the default value while creating a function. That we can call it as a default argument. So now we'll move to the next slide. Variable length arguments. So why do you require variable length arguments? The first statement is saying that sometimes we don't know in advance the number of arguments that will be passed into a function. So sometimes I don't know how many number of arguments I am passing into a function. In this situation, you can use the variable length argument. Python allows us to handle this kind of situation through function calls with arbitrary number of arguments. Arbitrary number in the sense it will be defined with a star, and I don't know how many number of arguments are there. Function defines, we use a asterisk, a star before the parameter name to denote this kind of argument. To denote this kind of argument, I need to define a star. So here parameter name is names, and before the parameter name I will define as a star, denote with a star. It's an argument, variable length argument, that is nothing but arbitrary number of argument. I don't know how many number of arguments are there. Now I am taking for I in names, I am reading I in names as a for loop, and each and every iteration one argument will be taken as a names. Print hello I am saying hello to I will get one value from this names, and display I am passing number of arguments here: Monica, Luke, Steve and John. So these four variables, four arguments will be stored into names, star names, number of arguments, and each and every iteration it will get one name as a Monica, Luke, Steve and John. These are the four different types of arguments are available in our Python. So now we will stop this our PPT and we'll see example of these four different types of arguments in our Python IDE, and later after that we will continue with our scope of variables. So now I'll quickly go to the Python IDE. Say Control N and I will say save. Where I need to save into the Unit-4 examples. And say function 8 example. Function 8. Now example of required argument. So here I have a definition a and I say x. I say print x. So function with one parameter, and I am calling this function display nothing. Function call zero parameter, zero arguments. So whenever I create a function, I have a one parameter, but I am calling with zero. That means they are not matching. So it will get as an error. I will run this code, run module. Okay. What kind of error? Missing one required positional argument. One argument is required, but it's missing. So that means it's an error. So what should I need to do? I need to overcome this error by giving some parameter. I say RAM. Function call with one argument. So I have a one parameter here and as well as one argument here. So I don't have any kind of difficulty or any kind of mismatch. So they are matched, and now I will get a output whatever I required as a RAM. So this RAM will substituted with X. I say RAM. So RAM is my output. So this is what we can call it as a required argument. This is what we can call it as a required argument. Now we will see one more example. So save as a function 9. Example of keyword argument. Definition, hello, I say name, say display. Another function name, I say name x comma y. So function three parameters. As I said, keyword argument, the position may get changed. I say print name x. So I will add some text here. The name is value of x is say value of y. Three things. Now we will call this function display in their positions. So x is equal to 20 and I say name is equal to rom. I say y is equal to 30. Position of x is equal to second here, but I am changed it as a third. And position of y is 3 here, and I am changed it as a 3 only. And position of name is 1, and I am changing as 2. Position of x is equal to 2, and here position is 1. So I can change the position, and these values will be substituted to this respective variables parameters. So name will substituted with ram, x will be substituted with the 20, and y will be substituted with the 30. So here I will get output as a ram. And here x is equal to 20, y is equal to 30. So now I will run this code, module, run. So you can observe here. So name is Ram and value of x is equal to 20 and value of y is equal to 30. So positions can be changed in the keyword argument. So that we can call it as a keyword argument. Now we will see the default argument example. So it's a default argument. Display. You can take one name and we can take course as a with two parameters. Now I will say name is name. I say print course is course. I will call this function. I say display. I will pass name as a ram. I am passing only one argument. So I am passing only one argument. Function call with one argument. So whenever I am passing with one argument and another argument is a default value, so I will get output as a btake. So here I will get ram and here I will get output as a btake. So that's how it will work. That we can call it as a default variable. So we will save this file, save, and I say function 10. Default is a btake, so it will take the default argument. Now I will run this program, run module. So name is ram and the course is btake. If I pass this function with the two arguments, then it will take that particular two arguments. So I say ram, I say MBA. What will happen? Ram will be substituted with the name and the course will be substituted with the MBA. I will take a function called arguments. So I change this name. I make to Ram to Shiva. So here I will get Shiva and the MBA. So I will run this code. So first one is Ram and BTech and next one is Shiva and MBA. I can access this function call by using the keyword also. So I can take a display, say course equal SC name equal, I can say now. So here name will be substituted with the Krishna, course will be substituted with the MSc. Now I will get a function called to keyword arguments. Keyword arguments is keyword arguments. Now I will get output as a MSc and Krishna along with Ram, Shiva, MBA and MSc Krishna. Run this code. So Ram, BTech, Shiva, MBA and Krishna with MSc. So this is how we can write a code with a default argument. Now I will go with the arbitrary arguments, variable length arguments. Function 10, 11. Variable definition display. I say star names. I don't know how many number of names I am getting. So function with variable length parameter. Function with one parameter. Function with one parameter only. Yes, one parameter. But we don't know how many arguments he will pass. Yes, one parameter with star. Okay. Now I will write for I in names. I say hello. Whenever I call this function, I say calling a function. Whenever I call this function, now I need to pass multiple arguments. I don't know how many number of arguments I have. I say display pass Ram, Shiva, Krishna. I am passing with three arguments. Function call with three arguments. So here I have a calling the function with the three arguments. Now if these names will be substituted with these three arguments, each and every time it will take one name and it will print hello Ram, hello Shiva and hello Krishna. So I will run this code, run module. So I say run, okay. So hello Ram, hello Shiva and hello Krishna. So this is how we can define the arguments in four different types. First one is that required argument, and next one keyword argument, and next default argument, and the fourth one is a variable length argument. Now we will go to the PPT to complete scope of the variable. So I will quickly move to the PPT and next slide. Scope of variables. Scope of variables refer to the part of the program in which a variable is accessible. So let's take, I have a program with multiple parts, multiple functions, and I have a n number of variables in my program, and I need to check which variable should be accessible and where. That we can call it as a scope of variables. Some of the variables may not exist for the entire duration of the program. Some of the variable may not exist, may not accessible to entire duration of the program. In which part of the program can access a variable and which part of the program variable exists depends on how variable has been declared. So accessibility of the variable is depends on how we have declared the variables. So how to declare the variables? So we can have two types to declare the variables. Those are global variables and local variables. Global variables will have the global scope and local variables will have the local scope. Now we'll see what is global variable and what is local variable and what is the difference between these two. First, global variable. The variable which are defined in the main body of the program is called global variable. So the main body of the program, whatever variables I will define, those variables we can call it as a global variables. That means the variables will not be defined inside the function, that we can call it as the main body. Those variables can be accessible anywhere in the program. We can access those particular variables anywhere in the program. Either we can access inside the function or we can access outside of the function. Such variables we can call it as a global variables. So for example, here you can see x is equal to 50 outside of the function, so it's a global variable, and define text which is 0 parameter, and print inside text x is, so inside I am accessing the x value as a 50 and outside I am accessing value of x is outside of the function. So both the way it can be accessible, that we can call it as a global variable. Here I have a one more global variable is equal to 50 global variable, text is equal to 10. This is now local variable because inside text x is here I will get 10, the value of x will get 50 because it's a global. So what is the value here? Value of x is 50 plus 10 is a 60. Okay, we produce 60, both the things, 50 plus 10 is 60. Now we'll check this program in our terminal. Don't worry about that. We'll check the global variables first. Boolean plus function 12 variable example. X is equal to 50 and definition or test 0 parameters function with 0 parameters. It's a global variable. It's a global. In access int says inside function as x. So I will get here 50. Print says outside function. Here also I will get 50. So now before that I will call the function Whenever I call this function, so what will happen with this code? So I will save first. So first it will define the x as a global variable. It will store the value as a 50. Next it will create a function. It will call the function as a test. Test function will be accessed with 0 parameters and 0 argument. X inside the function, first this statement will get executed. I will get 50, and after that I will get x is outside function. It will get again 50. X is inside the function or outside? Inside function and outside of the function. So now I will run this. X is inside of the function is 50 and outside of the function. So this variable can be accessible anywhere. So that we can call it as a global variable. So if I create a local variable as x is equal to 10. So now it's a local variable. So inside the function. So x is inside the function, I will get 10. And now we will run first inside the function and we will check whether I am getting the 10 or 50. First run module. So x is inside of the function is 10. So because I am taking the inside of the function. So whenever I run outside of the function, so what will happen? So it has a 50 and 10. Will it submit or No, it's not summing. So here I am getting the global variable value. So I am getting only 50. Yes, in PPT you got some typo mistake. So here I will get only 50 only because it will take the global variable outside of the function. But whenever it's inside of the function, it will take only local variable. So this is how we can write the code for the global variables. Now we'll go to the PPT. Local variables. The variables which are defined within a function is called local variables. So whatever variables were defined inside the function, we can call it as a local variables. Local variable can be accessible only within the function. It exists as long as the function is executing. So it can be accessible only inside the function, and this duration, the validity of this variable will be as long as function is executing. Once function is execution is completed, then that variable will not be accessible from any part of your program. Function parameter behave like local variables in the function. So function parameters may behave like a local variables. Now we'll see the next slide. So this is the example. So x is a 50 is a global variable. Next, x is equal to 5 is a local variable, and y is equal to 2 is a local variable, and value of x and y inside the function are 5 and 2. You will get 5 and 2. Value of the x outside of the function you will get as a 50 because it's a global variable. And we have seen this example in previous example itself, local variable example. So however, I will write once again. Before that, we will see the next slide. So next slide, difference between global variable and a local variable. What is the difference? They are defined in the main body of the program. Global variable can be defined in the main body of the program, but local variable can be defined in the function within a function and is local to that function. It can be defined in the inside the function. They can be accessible throughout the program. They can be accessible anywhere of the program, but they can be accessible within a function only. Cannot access variables outside of the function. So accessibility of the local variable will be within the function only. We can't access outside of the function. Next, global variables are accessible to all functions in the program. You can access these global variables to all the functions in the program. Their local variable, they are not related to any way to other variables with the same name used outside the function. So you can't access this local variable outside the function. You can be accessible only within that particular function only. These are the three differences between local variable and global variable. I will see the next slide. Modifying a local variable to a global variable. Want to modify local variable as global variable inside the function, then add global keyword before the variable name. Whenever you add the global keyword before the variable name, that particular variable become a global variable. This declares that local or inner variable of the function to have module scope. For example, here variable is a good, global variable 1. That means variable 1 will become now global, and variable 1 is morning, and print in function variable is variable good. So this var will get good. Morning I am accessing outside of the function. Variable is var1. Outside of the function variable 1 is var1. So this will get morning. Var is variable outside of the function global. So all the two variables are global now. This one is a global automatically, and this is a global with a keyword called global. Variable 1 is a global with a keyword called global, and I am accessing function called show. So we'll see how to create a global variable inside the function, and how to write a code for the local variable. So that's all for the PPT, and we'll see the two examples, and then we'll close this session. Clear? First, we'll write a code for local variable. So Control S, and I say function example of local variable. Definition test function with 0 parameters. I say after completion of this function, what I will do, I will write some variable x is equal to 20 and y is equal to 30. And both are local variables. Local variable, and this is also local variable. You can access this and y from the function itself. Print x and y are inside of the function. I'm accessing inside of the function as a x, y. So now I will call this function as test. What does it mean? I am creating two variables. Those variables are x and y. X is 20 and y is 30. I can access this inside the function. I will not get any kind of error. So I will run this code. I will get 20 and 30. I will save this file. So x and y are inside of the function 20 and 30. So no issues. But if I try to access this outside of the function, it will get error. X from outside of the function. X. Here I am accessing x with outside of the function. Now here you will get an error. What error? The x is not defined or something else. So we'll see. So name error, x is not defined. So x is defined inside the function, that's a local. Now you are accessing x from the outside of the function. So this will get an error saying that x is not defined. That we can call it as a local variable. So we'll remove this line. We'll save this code again. Now I will run this code. It will work. No issues. Now we'll see how to convert local variable to global. But local variable global variable using global keyword. Definition. So first I will take x is equal to variable and say definition test with 0 parameters. So I have a y is equal to 30. I will make it as a global now. Global y is equal to 30. Z is equal to 40. Local variable. Local. Now this will become a global variable. So here are the three variables are there. X is a global and y is a global and z is a local variable. Now I will print all these three things from the inside the function. So x, y and z from inside of the function. Y, z. I can access all these things. Plus, one is inside the function and one is outside of the function. No issues. So I will call this test function. First I will check whether I am accessing x inside this function or not. Thereafter I will access this y and x from outside of the function because y is also global variable. So first I will run this code, run module. Okay. Save function 15. Okay. Valid syntax where I am making mistake. I should not get it here. So I need to make it as a delete, a global variable and I say y is equal to 30 now. Now I will run module. So x, y, z from the inside of the function 30, 30, 40. So I am getting three variables. So I will make this a value as a 20. So you will not get any ambiguity. So I will run this code. So here you can check y, z from the inside of the function 30, 20, 40. So this is how x is equal to 30 and y is equal to 20 and z is equal to 40. Now I need to call this thing outside of the function also, because y and x are global, but I will not get z and y, x and y come outside of the function. Get only x and y because z is a local variable. I can't access z. So I will run this program, run module. So okay, and y from outside of the program 30 and 20. So what will happen if I access z from outside of the function z? Then you will get an error saying that z is not defined. The same error you will get, z is not defined. So name z is not defined. So that's how you can't access the local variable from outside of the function. You can access only inside of the function. So if you remove this z from here, now you will get an error without any error. You will get output without any error. Run module. So x and y from outside of the function. So that we can call it as a 30 and 20. This is all about the scope of variable examples, and that's all for today's class. If you have any doubts, you can ask in Google Classroom, Google Meet class, or you can ask in your LMS, or you can ask in your WhatsApp chat. That's all for today. Have a nice day. See you soon. Bye.